So good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Crypto Valley Conference here in Rotkreuz again. Great to see everyone coming together, finding a seat. They are, of course, all the same price, so pick and choose carefully. Today we're going to start with a highlight, I think, of the entire conference, something that we look forward to very often since Thomas Moser, an alternate member of the governing board of the Swiss National Bank, is a regular at crypto conferences, but also at the Crypto Valley Conference. You could say he is what we say sometimes an OG, someone who has been following and been active in exploring blockchain technology and supporting the SNB in their projects as things have developed, and they are developing. And that is going to be the topic of Thomas's keynote this morning. Very much looking forward to that. I hope that all of you will listen intently, and perhaps we will have time for 1 or 2 questions at the end. So with that, Thomas, welcome to the Crypto Valley Conference. Great to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks to the organizers for having me. Always a great pleasure to be here. I always learn a lot, and there's always there are opportunities to actually cooperate on some of these projects we have, and I will show you specifically one. Let me start by reminding everyone again where we come from. And a lot of times the question comes, do you think stablecoins and CBDCs, they can coexist? And the answer I always give is, of course. That's what we have right now. We have a coexistence of public money issued by central banks and private money issued by commercial banks. So that's how the current system looks like. The central bank issues 2 types of money, these beautiful privacy-preserving banknotes that we have, and we intend to continue to issue. And then we have the deposits that are limited in the sense that they are only available for mainly banks, for financial institutions. And what we all use when we use digital money nowadays, we use mostly, I guess most of you also use stablecoins, maybe Bitcoin and Ether, but most people use their commercial bank deposits. They access them with debit cards, credit cards, more and more with smartphones, maybe also with online banking. But so if Alice pays Bob, what happens is that, and Alice is a customer of Bank A and Bob is a customer of Bank B, so what happens is that Bank A then debits Alice's account and Bank B credits Bob's account. And the question is now, how does the money go from Bank A to Bank B? And of course, you could do that also without the central bank. And then the Bank B would just hold a claim on Bank A. This is actually what historically used to be the case. The cumbersome situation here is that Bank B might end up with claims from 20, 30, 50 different commercial banks. So what historically happens is that one bank emerges, the one that all the others trust most, and something like a central bank emerges, and that's the situation we have. So the transfer between Bank A and Bank B, that happens through their account at the central bank, at the Swiss National Bank, in the case of Switzerland. So the settlement between the banks is in central bank money, because that's the safest type of money that exists. And so when we now move to the new world, so one way we could go and say, okay, let's have a CBDC for the public at large. We would tokenize our banknotes, and that's commonly called a retail CBDC. In Switzerland, we said we have no intention to do that, at least not at this stage. And the other avenue would be to tokenize those deposits that the commercial banks hold with us, and that's commonly called a wholesale CBDC. There's currently a discussion among central banks whether this is really a good term, whether we should not change that, but at least at this stage, wholesale CBDC would be the CBDC only available to financial institutions. And then, of course, you can say, okay, if the commercial banks settle in central bank money in wholesale CBDC, why not put everything on the blockchain and then also issue that the banks would issue what's nowadays called tokenized assets, or you could also have issuers of stablecoins issuing stablecoins, and then we have everything on the blockchain. That's actually what we are doing right now in Project Agora. I will say something about that towards the end. But let me first tell you, where do we stand in Switzerland? And we are very, very far when it comes to the settlement of tokenized securities. And that's not an accident. I think the reason is because we had the first fully licensed, regulated digital exchange based on distributed ledger technology, and that's SDX. What you see here is on the left, that's the traditional Swiss exchange, how it works. And on the right, you see SIX digital exchange, SDX. That's everything on a blockchain, Corda blockchain. And you see that what people hope here in terms of efficiency gain is really that you have, in the traditional system, you have 4 different platforms that you have to synchronize. You have a platform to do the exchange. You have a clearing platform. Then you have a platform where you exchange ownership of the securities, so the settlement of the securities, that's on SIX SIS. And then again, you have a different platform where you exchange the money. That's the SIG platform. And you have to synchronize all these, that's sequentially, you have to synchronize it. It's the big hope with SDX or the blockchain on the right is if you put everything on one single platform, that you have efficiency gains. And that's, so SDX went live in November 2021. And you have the tokenized securities there. And the question, of course, for SDX and SIX was like, how do we do the cash settlement? We need some form of a tokenized money. And that's where we come in. And basically, you could think of 3 different ways of doing this. And we explored all of them and are still exploring all of them. When we start on the left, then you have bankruptcy remote private token money. The meaning here would be, it would be just a stable coin, and that's actually how SDX started. They issued the stable coin. So the cash settlement happened with their stable coins. What we heard from the banks is, there's too much risk, there's counterparty risk. So your own risk management gives you limits on how much of that stable coin you can hold. It's relatively expensive. You need to provide capital and so on. So it's not an ideal form of money. So one thing, and that I should say, even though SDX had an account with us, so they backed their stablecoin with an account at the central bank. That's what most stablecoin providers worldwide would dream of. We had that already in Switzerland from the beginning. But then if you want to go one step further, we could say, let's make that account backing that stablecoin somehow bankruptcy remote, in the sense that if SDX would go bankrupt, that the holder of that stablecoin could directly access the money at the central bank. That requires some legal changes. We did study that, and we would have a way actually to do that. Then in the middle, another solution would be you say, okay, we just leave that last platform that I showed you before. So the cash settlement, we just leave the SIG platform the way it is and hook up. So all the other 3 platforms we have basically on the blockchain, and then just hook up the blockchain to our traditional payment system. And that would be what we call the RTGS link. That works very easily. We could start right tomorrow. And there is actually in Switzerland one exchange trying to get a license right now, waiting for FINMA to approve it, and that's the model that they want to go with, and as soon as they have the license, I guess we could start. But there you have to synchronize. You have to synchronize the blockchain, where you have the tokenized assets, with the traditional account-based, deposit-based SIG system, where you would have the cash settlement. And then the last solution, the one we are doing in Project Helvetia, right now, or in the pilot Helvetia, is the Wholesale CBDC, where you have everything on one platform. And as I said, most people think that's the most promising way to go forward if you have all assets, all tokens on the same platform. And in Helvetia 1, we did that during 2020. We explored all the technicalities. It was for us, of course, also a first to how do you run a node on a blockchain? How do you issue a wholesale CBDC? How do you book that into your own account? So we did that all and published a report in December 2020. Then we went into phase 2, where we worked together with real banks and did end-to-end transactions. And you see here, we had a couple of Swiss banks, we had some large international banks, and we published that report in 2020. We also did an experiment together with the Banque de France where we did cross-border settlement. So we had securities, French issued securities, then bought in wholesale CBDC, Swiss franc. We had the exchange of euro wholesale CBDC issued by the Banque de France. This was all in a test environment. Do you have a question? There was a private blockchain, also a Corda blockchain. And then we went live, actually, and most people don't believe me when I tell them we have in Switzerland a live wholesale CBDC. It's still a pilot, but it's live. It's in a production environment. And we started that at the beginning of December last year, and we said that pilot will run until the end of June. And what we have seen, so these are real transactions that we have seen with real wholesale CBDC, not a test environment, not a platform that we built ourselves. So it's on a third-party platform. It was worldwide the first such wholesale CBDC settlement for securities issued on a blockchain, and everything settled on a blockchain. And you saw that we had, so these are bonds that were issued really for funding purposes, not test or research purposes. We had the canton of Zurich, we had the canton of Basel-Stadt. They both wanted to be the first. So there was a little bit of a competition between them. So they both came out actually on December 1st and issued their bonds. They were settled in wholesale CBDC. We had the city of Lugano, we had the city of St. Gallen, and recently we had the World Bank with the first international bond issuance in Swiss franc on blockchain settled in wholesale CBDC. There is more to come. Unfortunately, I cannot right now talk about it. I can also not tell you at this stage how we will proceed. We will announce that on June 20th, so very, very close. It will be good news. that much I can tell you. But so that was, I think, so we are live. Wholesale CBDC is live. The question still is more use cases. We need more business on SDX, but I think we are going to see that. What we still need to see is whether this is really more efficient than the traditional way. And we haven't really seen that yet. I mean, we talk about potential and we all believe in the potential, but at this stage we haven't seen it. There are different reasons. We had very limited use cases. And also the banks involved here, I think everyone is kind of waiting. You know, how much do we invest? How much do we really automate? And only if you automate everything, then you will probably see those gains. And once you start using smart contracts. But as I said, I'm very optimistic that we are getting there. Another big topic right now among central banks, already for a while, but we are going into a huge project right now, is cross-border payments. So if you have, if you buy goods or services off-chain, but you need to pay somehow on-chain. And cross-border payments is something that we also did some experiments, but all this stuff I'm talking about now is not in a production environment. This is still test environment. But we had a very exciting project. Maybe some of you have heard about it. It's Project Mariana, where we did cross-border exchange together with the Banque de France, again, with the Monetary Authority Singapore. And to do that, we did build a decentralized exchange, and this time on a public blockchain. We actually used Ethereum. And also, actually, we got some technical assistance, I may say, here from Crypto Valley. We actually built decentralized exchange. We didn't build so much Uniswap, we built Curve. Curve is here in the Crypto Valley. We got Michael Agora actually helped us build this decentralized exchange. So that was a very exciting project. It worked perfectly well, and we are not yet sure how we take that further, but the way it worked, basically, these three countries had their own platform where they issued wholesale CBDC, and then we built bridges into Ethereum. On Ethereum, we built the smart contract, which was the decentralized exchange, and it was the commercial banks that had access to the wholesale CBDC, that got the wholesale CBDC from us, from the Banque de France, and from the MAS Singapore, and then they took that onto Ethereum and then were the liquidity provider for the liquidity pool. The liquidity pool contained then Swiss franc wholesale CBDC, Euro wholesale CBDC issued by the Banque de France and the Singapore dollar wholesale CBDC issued by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And so we also have the report. If you're interested, you will find that on the website. The current project that we are involved in, and that's now huge, that's a global tokenized payment system. And the idea here is exactly what I showed you here, that you basically have everything on the blockchain. So we are really kind of building here the right side, that you have different banks. We do not know whether or at least I don't know at this stage, whether it will be only commercial banks or whether we also allow some stablecoin issuers, because maybe you have seen the press release by Circle 3-4 days ago. Well, they said we applied to participate in Project Agora. I don't know how the central bank community will react to that. So the original idea was really to have commercial banks there. But then you have the commercial banks, so basically you have the customers of these commercial banks can then pay with tokenized deposits, and the commercial banks settle then among themselves with wholesale CBDC. So the idea is really one global blockchain and have wholesale CBDC, public money, and tokenized deposits, private money, everything on the same blockchain. And as you, sorry for that, as you have seen here, it's huge, this project. So we have 7 central banks involved, 2 from the Americas, the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Mexico. We have 3 from Europe, the Banque de France, the Bank of England and the Swiss National Bank, and we have 2 from Asia, the Bank of Japan and the Bank of Korea. And so right now, so the idea is 7 central banks, and then each jurisdiction is supposed to bring 2 to 3 commercial banks. So in the end, we will have, around 20 commercial banks. So it's a huge project, a lot of legal units involved. That's a little bit what I'm, what I am a little bit skeptical about, but a huge project. We had now the call for participation. We had a lot of commercial banks, including Circle, applying for it. Actually, the most applications came from Switzerland, from Swiss banks. So that's I think very good news. The Swiss community is very active in this project. The idea is to build a private blockchain. I'm trying to push a little bit to actually use a public blockchain. I'm still the only one at this stage. Yeah. But we don't know. I mean, we are still at the beginning of this project. It's evolving, but I think it will be interesting to see. Retail CBDC, I said we are not having any intention to issue that, but we had a very interesting research project, which was called Project Tourbillon, where we actually built something together with David Chaum, and we implemented it. So it was based on eCash. We did an update of eCash, so that the big advantages of that retail CBDC system would be totally privacy preserving for the payer, not for the payment receiver, but for the payer, totally private, same level as banknotes. And what we also did, of course, fully scalable. eCash has been used in the 80s with the computing power of the 80s. And then the third thing is what we did new, and that's why eCash 2, we made it quantum proof. That's kind of something I'm lately interested in, is like, what do we do against quantum computers? We need to replace traditional asymmetric cryptography. How do we do that? We implemented here quantum proof cryptography, lattice-based. We saw that the performance is really suffering if you do that. So the message would be, if you want to be quantum ready and intend to use post-quantum cryptography, start now to be ready in 5 to 10 years. And with that, let me stop here. Maybe 1 or 2 questions. I think we still have a little bit of time.
I just want to throw one quick question to you before we start. How important was the work done on different projects in Switzerland to convince people outside of Switzerland to work together on these bigger projects?
Yeah, I think it was very important. I think it's recognized in the international community that we are really at the forefront here. given that we have a live wholesale CBDC, that we are not just doing research papers, but actually implementing stuff. So that was very important that we were asked to participate in Agora. We did not have to apply.
Perfect. Questions from the audience right here?
Will stable coins like USD, for example, be connected to the CBDC, or this is like a temporary phenomenon, the traditional stable coins like USDT? Because as far as we know, the regulation is coming for Europe.
Yeah.
And MiCA starts the 30th of June. And Paolo Deino already worried about that in Europe. So what do you think?
So, I mean, stablecoins, I'm not sure whether they will be part of the pictures, but what we clearly see is increasing regulation of stablecoin issuers. And, but the central banks are also kind of pushing commercial banks to issue these tokenized deposits. So I think what we see more and more is a merging of stablecoin regulation going in towards banking regulation light. The more interesting for me is what do you do with the decentralized stablecoins like DAI? And I think there the community still has no idea how to regulate a decentralized autonomous organization. I think that's still an open question.
In your opinion, it will be legalized, or?
I think in the end there will be some type of regulation, but I guess there it's still open how that can be done. My hope is that we will find a way how to regulate decentralized organizations. And that we do not force them to become actually centralized in order for them to operate. That's one of the risks that I see.
Okay, can we move on to another question? You, sir.
Yeah, on the question of public versus private blockchains, what do you see as the main stumbling blocks that you hear from your colleagues?
So mainly legal compliance. One is that the legal departments, they want to have a counterpart that you make a contract with. That's one thing. And the other is there's really a fear that, especially commercial banks, that they would pay, for instance, on Ethereum gas fees that go to sanctioned units, because then they're in trouble. I think there are solutions to that, and I think you guys showed that you can solve that problem, but I think the central bank community still has to catch up to that.
One more question. You, sir?
Where does SWIFT work with your cross-border transactions? Is it outside SWIFT, or you're still using it?
For the traditional financial system, we're still using it. I mean, this Agora will be totally without SWIFT. So SWIFT is still the commonly used messaging system for all international payments at this stage.
Okay, I think that would be our time limit. Okay, one more question, sir.
Completely out of context, when does the Swiss National Bank adopt Bitcoin as a reserve?
I knew that question was coming.
There is a vote about that. probably coming. I mean, no intention at this stage.
Thank you very much again, Thomas. Thank you for being with us. Yeah.